Hey folks, this is Kalani. Well, that was certainly fast, wasn't it? For this morning's reset, we were told the vendor would not be in just yet, and we'd have to wait until later this week. Apparently, later this week just meant a couple of hours, because the corruption vendor is active, in-game, and fully functional. Let's have a look at what the vendor currently offers, and talk about the system as a whole, including some of those previous restrictions that we made note of being removed. Before we jump in, be sure to pop by our live stream sometime over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We go live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 PM PST, and swinging by and saying hi is one of the best ways you can support the channel and everything we do right now. By the way, a subscription on Twitch, which you can get for free if you have Amazon Prime, will also get your name at the end of every YouTube video as a special thank you. So if you've always wanted to join the wonderful folks in the outro, now you know how. Hope to see you soon. Alright, first things first, the vendor. Pop down to the Chamber of Heart and talk to Mother. She should offer you some new goodies. The Vessel of Horrific Visions and 6 different corruption effect items that you can purchase with Echoes of Ny'alotha. As a quick note, the vendor does seem a bit buggy sometimes. If you cannot see the corruption effects, or if they're showing up weirdly, try to turn War Mode on or off to force a phase change. This actually happened on my Demon Hunter, and I could see the corruption effects properly after I turned War Mode off. A bit weird, but that might help you out if you're having problems. Mother is the only place you can get these corruption effects, and from what I understand, you will need to have completed your questline for the legendary cloak to be able to buy them. I think that's also the restriction placed on you for earning Echoes of Ny'alotha now as well. If you don't have your legendary cloak and you're not seeing Echoes of Ny'alotha drop from their appropriate sources, that's probably why. So go do that first, get your legendary cloak before you start farming everything else. We also get our first glimpse at the restrictions imposed on this system. The big one being you can only pick from 6 different corruption effects at any given time. We talked about this a bit yesterday, but my opinion hasn't really changed. I do not see any benefit whatsoever to limiting the available corruptions in any capacity. It serves no purpose except to slow you down, and it looks like they want to potentially slow you down quite a bit. This first set of 6 corruptions will last until the smaller faction assault resets and changes over, which is Friday for North American realms and Saturday for European realms. That means you only have another 2 days or so to get what you want from this vendor, and then it's going to swap. So if you want the tier 3 Twisted Appendage, which costs 13,000 Echoes of Ny'alotha, there's only 2 ways you can really afford that. 1, have a stockpile from before this patch, or 2, play nothing but World of Warcraft for the next 2 days, spamming Mythic plus dungeons and PvP, and even then you might fall short, and you certainly won't be able to afford more than 1. So the 6 corruption effect limit hurts you in 2 ways. If you can't afford the effect that you want when it becomes available, then you'll have to wait for the whole set to rotate before it comes back up again, and if your item doesn't pop up until the last week of the rotation, then you're just waiting a long time anyway. With 52 different corruption powers and ranks, and only 6 being available at any given time, and the reset happening twice per week, that will take 4.5 weeks to fully rotate. So some of you could be waiting over a month to see the power that you want to pick up. But I guess the good news is that you would have plenty of time to farm up your Echoes of Ny'alotha to make sure you could stock up on your chosen effect as much as possible. These items are not unique, so you should be able to buy as many of them as you can afford, even if you don't have the gear ready to actually corrupt. Just sit on them, have them in your bags or bank until you have an item you're happy with, but if you don't buy them when they're on the vendor, you will have to wait another 4.5 weeks for them to come back around, so plan accordingly. I was hoping that we would see maybe 8 or 10 effects minimum, but they stuck us with 6. I would prefer no limits on this kind of thing to allow players to buy whatever they wanted. I mean, that's going to happen anyway. You're not going to buy something you don't want just because it's not there yet. They're just making you wait a bit, or quite a bit, depending on how long it takes. If you're curious about which effects we have on the vendor right now for the first rotation, we have Ineffable Truth 1, that'll cost you 3,300 Echoes. We have Honed Mind 1, that's 4,125. Strike Through 2, that's the crit one, 4,125 again. Masterful 2, 4,125. Maybe see a bit of a pattern there. Expedient 3 will cost you 5,000, and then Twisted Appendage 3 is 13,200. Those are our current set of 6, which again will rotate on Friday or Saturday depending on NA or EU. Now there was one other restriction of not being able to use these corrupting items on something that had previously been cleansed of corruption. This is still a little bit wonky, so stick with me. If you cleansed an item before this latest reset, so before Tuesday the 19th of May, if you cleansed an item before that date, it will not accept another corruption effect. They're still working on it, apparently it's a coding thing, but there is some good news. If you have a corrupted item, whether you got it last week, a month ago, or today, and you decide to cleanse it right now after the update and reset, you can re-corrupt it with the vendor items. Bear in mind this may work from Wednesday for EU, so if you cleanse something before the Wednesday reset, it probably won't accept a new corruption effect from the vendor, so don't cleanse anything until your reset has happened. The key here is when the item was cleansed. It doesn't matter when the item was actually looted. As long as you cleanse it after the vendor was put in, that item should be able to take another corruption effect of your choice from the vendor. They said they wanted to figure that out, and I guess they did, more or less. That's a fantastic change, and I'm glad they were able to sort that out so quickly, so kudos to the dev team for that one. With only 6 effects to look at right now, it's kind of hard to give you a decent impression of what every corruption effect is going to cost, but I can say that some of them seem quite expensive. You have Ineffable Truth here, which is one of the best corruptions for quite a few classes, and it's fantastic for most healers from what I understand, and that effect will cost you significantly less than the tier 3 Twisted Appendage here. In fact, it costs 4 times less, 3k versus 13k. Twisted Appendage is good, but it's not like it's the best in slot for everyone. Infinite Stars or Gushing Wound are also very strong, and probably very expensive, but then the percentage stat effects also seem kind of cheap for what they offer. They're also fantastic for some classes. I feel like they took the top 4, which would probably be Twilight Devastation, which we know to cost 15,000 echoes from the blue post, Twisted Appendage, which we can see here, quite expensive, Infinite Stars, I dread to think how much that one will cost, and then Gushing Wound. Those are the powers people really go after for DPS. I reckon they looked at those and just slapped high price tags on them, maybe. Or it could be because those powers give you the most corruption. Maybe it's just working against us. If you look at the available powers, all of the effects that give you 15 corruption cost the same, 4,125 echoes. The 12 corruption effect costs less at 3,300 and the 20 corruption effect costs more at 5k. They don't follow any fixed pattern for price per corruption point, but I guess they decided to look at how much corruption an effect gives you rather than how powerful the actual corruption is. That's potentially going to be really unfortunate for anyone who wants a lot of high corruption items. That means a Gushing Wound could also end up being very cheap because it only gives you a small amount of corruption. So if you want to wait for that one, you should be able to pick up quite a few when it becomes available. I don't know if pricing the item based solely on corruption amounts is that useful of a metric, and I wonder if that could push players away from those big ticket items, especially if some other effects are generally just more efficient. Now we can pick and choose exactly what we want and create entire sets of corruption. That might just offset the power spike that you get from a single Twilight Dev rank 3. We will have to wait and see though, but if you're looking at those Twilight Dev rank 3s and Infinite Star rank 3s, I guarantee you have a huge grind ahead of you. While on the topic of Gushing Wound, by the way, I guess there's no better time to let you know that Blizzard is dropping the nerf hammer quite hard on that power in particular. We don't have any other information about other corruption effect tuning or changes, but Gushing Wound will get nerfed by 35%. That's a very hefty nerf, which will knock the entire power down quite a few pegs. If you've been saving up your echoes in the hope of getting Gushing Wound on every item, it might not be as worthwhile anymore. This nerf will go live with the next reset, so this will be the last week to enjoy your super powered Gushing Wounds, which is quite typical really because I just got my first Gushing Wound from an emissary quest. Oh well, we're going to have to wait for sim results to see how this actually affects us for the most part, because Gushing Wound could still be a very strong contender, especially if you have a lot of them already. And I love the fact how it's a low corruption effect. It's nice being able to choose to have lots of little effects that are still really good. But yeah, Gushing Wound might go down the toilet, so just get yourself ready for that. Oh, and as a special bonus, you might remember that the dev team mentioned that the Impressive Influence rep bonus buff was going to disappear with this reset. Well, that didn't happen, as you've probably noticed if you've logged in at all. That buff has been extended until this Thursday, so only until Thursday the 21st, so not quite as fun as the XP buff, which will last until Shadowlands, but what that does mean is that you have a few more days to try and squeeze out some more rep grinding, and this week is also the World Quest bonus week, so you get crazy amounts of rep for World Quests for the next couple of days. days. If you need just a little bit more rep, this awesome combo could get you up to speed 2 sweet. But that's all for this little update on the Corruption Vendor, how things work and how we feel about it all. Have you had a chance to check out the Corruption Vendor yet? How do you feel about only having 6 effects to choose from at a time and a full rotation taking potentially 4.5 weeks? Should more effects be available, or should it just not rotate at all? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to explore the alpha, or maybe run a couple dungeons with us, we just did LFR, very fun. You can find us over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 PM PST. Watching the stream and coming to say hi is one of the best ways you can support the channel right now. And if you ever wanted to be included in the list of names at the end of every video, a subscription on Twitch is the easiest way to make that happen. You get a free sub to any Twitch channel if you have Amazon Prime too, so make sure you're taking advantage of that. A big thank you to everyone who has subscribed on Twitch already, and to our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, now you know how. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.